Hey everyone, welcome to our DFI webinar. We're going to be starting in a few minutes, so we'll just be waiting for a few more people to join. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll be starting in a few more minutes, so thanks for waiting. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us again tonight, and welcome to the District Fundraising Initiatives webinar, otherwise known as our DFIs, and I'll get to more about what that means very soon. So to start off, we'll just be introducing ourselves as our hosts. And first off, my name is Kevin Rue, and I am your DFI ambassador, and I'm currently a second year at UCLA, and I'm a molecular bio major, and fun fact, my smile is higher on one side because I once face planted.
Hi, my name is Angelica Ubunjin. I'm the Outreach Chair in the Five Fund Committee. I go to UC Riverside as a business marketing major. And fun fact, I know Morse code.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, I'm Rendell Lopez. I'm the Crazy Competition for Infants North Chair, and I attend school in UN Reno. My major is business administration. And fun fact, apparently I will be singing at CKI North.
Awesome, and with that, we'll be getting started into the presentation. So what exactly are our DFIs, otherwise known as the District Fundraising Initiatives? So as I mentioned earlier, each year as a district, we have 3 charities that we focus our fundraising efforts upon. This year, we have the PTP, Pediatric Trauma Program, Feeding America, and the Kiwanis Family House. And traditionally, we have 2 standing DFIs that don't change each year, with 1 rotating DFI. So our 2 standing DFIs are the Pediatric Trauma Program and the Kiwanis Family House, while our rotating and new DFI this year is Feeding America, which replaced the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention from the previous year. And Feeding America is the DFI we're going to be getting started with, which I'll be presenting. So what exactly is Feeding America? Feeding America is the largest hunger relief organization in the United States. Though they are headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, they provide food and services throughout the entire nation. Just this past year, Feeding America actually distributed more than 3.6 billion meals to those in need through a variety of services and other agencies such as food pantries and soup kitchens. And these services go out towards over 46 million individuals at risk for hunger throughout the entire country. So how exactly does Feeding America accomplish this and go about feeding so many individuals? Well, as mentioned in the previous slide, Feeding America has over 200 food banks. And these food banks are where the food is collected and then further distributed to hunger relief charities. They act as food storage centers and do not give out food directly to those in need. Instead, food pantries come in and act as the arms and reach out to the community directly and physically distribute food to communities in need. And with over 60,000 food pantries, Feeding America is more than capable of fighting hunger throughout the country. So besides feeding those around the country physically, Feeding America also heavily focuses on education and advocacy programs that address the issue of hunger at its core. Feeding America supports programs that improve food security, educates the public, and advocates for legislation that protects individuals from getting hungry. And food insecurity is really a critical problem where individuals don't have consistent access to enough food for a healthy life. And it can affect anyone from children and seniors to entire families and even many of your fellow students. It is especially a real issue on campuses, with studies showing that over a quarter or 25% of college students are often forced to choose between food and educational expenses at some point throughout college. Additionally, 1 out of 8 individuals struggle with hunger daily in the United States, and Feeding America's food bank-based intervention system hopes to combat that by focusing on increasing access to nutritional food and improved diet quality, with an ultimate goal of improving food security and a healthier lifestyle. And this is just teaching individuals what kinds of foods they should be reaching out and eating more, and just focusing on the nutritional aspects and foods that they should be avoiding, and just overall help them know what foods they should be reaching out for and better gain access to food security. So after learning about all that, I'm sure you're a little pumped up about wanting to help at Feeding America. So how exactly can you contribute and help support it? For starters, you can simply hold a fundraiser in support of Feeding America, contribute to its national distribution of food by selling your own baked goods or food items. And during these fundraisers, it's especially important to make sure that your patrons know what their money is benefiting towards, and they understand where this funds from that fundraiser are going towards, and a perfect opportunity to help advocate and educate for Feeding America, which brings us to our next point. You can help educate others on the value of food and of our food and Feeding America's overall mission and goal in the United States in combating food, and the importance of not being wasteful, and just really appreciating the value of our food and understanding that every bit of it matters. And you can also rise up against hunger together and just make your voice be heard. Finally, you can help by volunteering at your local Feeding America food bank or pantry, or hold your own canned food drive on campus and donate it back to the food bank. And again, this is another great way for you to also, while serving or while holding your canned food drive on campus, just educate others about Feeding America, about what they do and how they can participate and start making a difference and fight against hunger in the United States. And that brings us towards the impact of your fundraising and your service. Your efforts for Feeding America go towards benefiting several things, including but not limited to these several bullet points. For example, you can help contribute it towards reducing and rescuing large amounts of excess food, preventing safe and healthy food from just simply being wasted, when instead it can go back towards those in need. During a recent quarter, Feeding America actually rescued 2.6 billion pounds of food and was able to just give that back to those in need, instead of letting it go into the dumpster and landfill and contribute to environmental damage to the globe. Fundraising also helps push for legislation addressing hunger in America. This past summer quarter, Feeding America was able to encourage greater federal investment in food, resulting in the U.S. Department of Agriculture to actually announce nearly $200 million that went towards purchasing food that was able to be given towards Feeding America's food banks and then later distributed by Feeding America. And finally, you can help provide grants for member food banks to enhance their operations and just provide new strategies for obtaining food. This also goes back towards Feeding America's many programs where they help support a variety of different types of people. Feeding America really does have an extensive amount of programs, and these programs range from just like giving back to children who are often, when they're on free and reduced lunches at school, once the school year ends, Feeding America can actually go out and give and feed those children once the school year is over and they don't have access to food anymore. And every bit of your support really can make a difference, as each dollar you give to Feeding America can provide 10 meals to families in need. So each dollar, each little bit does really make a difference in the bigger picture. And finally, here are some resources where you can learn more about Feeding America and become an advocate for hunger yourself. For starters, the Hunger Action Center is a community that's often through your local Feeding America food bank, where individuals come together to address hunger and ensure that everyone has access to both healthy and nutritional food. And these are just another ways for you to meet others who are also very passionate about hunger as well, and just come together and work towards making a difference. The Feeding America website itself is also very thorough and is full of more information about Feeding America's many programs and efforts to fight hunger. So check that out at feedingamerica.org. And lastly, September is Hunger Action Month. So this month is the best time to actually fundraise for Feeding America and help spread the word out, as in this month, individuals across the nation stand together with Feeding America and help take action to combat the greater issue of hunger in the United States and just work towards making a difference. So thank you so much. And with that, we'll be moving on to the Kiwanis Family House, which will be presented by Rendell. But if you have any questions about a specific DFI or anything related to the DFIs as the presentation goes on, feel free to leave it in the chat and we'll try our best to get to it in the Q&A session at the end. Thank you.
So yeah, I'll be talking about KFH. So KFH, or Kiwanis Family House, was established by Vern and Leona Bright on July 23rd, 1984. KFH is based in Sacramento, California. So the goal of KFH is to provide support such as housing for families of ill or injured children who are currently staying at UC Davis Medical Center or Shriners Hospital in Sacramento, California. So like I said in the last slide, KFH provides support to the families by providing fully fledged kitchens, food and clothes closets, laundry machines, access to internet, counseling, and much more. So the average guest spends about at least 3 days at KFH. Those who stay longer become an extended member of the Kiwanis family, basically making this like their second home. So KFH needs all the support they can get from us Circle Kers. So there are 4 ways for us to help them out. We can donate wishful items such as toiletries or foods. And then each month, KFH posts a list of what they basically need. It can range from kitchen items like utensils or cutlery, toiletries, or even food. For the second one, we could also volunteer by assisting staff with their activities. We can help them from helping the guests, answering calls, etc. You can also schedule a service event with them by calling that number, 916-736-0116. While you can host a fundraiser dedicated to KFH, there are many ways to fundraise for the charity. KFH, like many other charities, are supported by Amazon Smile. And Amazon Smile is basically, it donates a certain percentage of your purchase towards your supporting cause. And lastly, you could spread the word. While hosting your event dedicated to KFH, you can use the hashtags on social media. And you could also spread the word to your friends or students who walk by your fundraising event. So the impact that we make help KFH tremendously. KFH is able to provide housing to 1,500 to 2,000 families per year. Even if some of those families can't afford to pay the nightly fee, it could be reduced or even waived. And then lastly, the March in March is KFH's largest fundraising event, where individuals march around KFH in a show of support and help raise awareness for KFH. And then if you had any questions or wanted to host a fundraising event with them, you could look at the KFH House Talk, and there they'll have the wish list items or have messages and a calendar of upcoming events. The second one would be kiwanisfamilyhouse.org, and that's their main website where you can find additional donation information, KFH news, and more. And then if you want to contact anyone from the KFH, their emails are listed below. So yeah, that'll be it for Kiwanis Family House, and we'll move on to PTP with Angelica.
Hi, my name is Angelica. So now we're going to be talking about Pediatric Trauma Program, which is also known as PTP for short. So what is the Pediatric Trauma Program? Pediatric trauma is the #1 leading cause of death in children ages 14 and under. So the Pediatric Trauma Program was established in 1994 by the CNH Kiwanis Foundation in order to bring more attention and provide more education to the issue of pediatric trauma, since the foundation is focused on children. The program mostly aims to develop different kinds of local projects like promoting outreach and providing educational materials to communities. And the ultimate goal of PTP is to reduce the number of children killed or injured by trauma in the 3 states of our district. So what is pediatric trauma? It can pretty much be defined as any sudden unintentional injury, and it's usually considered life-threatening. So examples of this include falling down the stairs, riding a bicycle or scooter without protective gear, drowning in a pool, or being involved in a car crash without a child safety harness or seatbelt, and a lot more examples like this. Pediatric trauma affects about 9,000 US families every year, but actually 90% of these unintentional injuries can be prevented through more education and proper use of safety equipment. So the foundation has expanded the pediatric trauma program over the years by partnering with 6 different hospitals listed here. These hospitals are located in San Diego, Oakland, Loma Linda, Madera, Honolulu, and Reno. They're located in each state of the district, so California, Nevada, and Hawaii. So no matter where you are in the district, there's a partnering hospital near you somewhere. If you were to write like thank you notes or donate toys, these are the places that you would send them to. So there are 4 main ways that you can support the pediatric trauma program. The first way is you can apply for grants offered by the CNH Foundation if you want to host your own PTP-related service project. You can apply and get more information on this on their website because they do have different criteria for applying for the grants. Um, and so the second way is you can hold your own service project without necessarily needing a grant. And this is on a smaller scale. So these can be services like making PTP dolls or having a toy drive and then donating those toys to the partnering hospitals, or even writing thank you notes to like nurses and servicemen and women. And you can also attend CrazyCon for Infants North or South. This is the very first district event of the year, and it's a big event where members can come together and in teams and compete in a bunch of fun games and relays and stuff against other schools. It's a nice, friendly competition, and it's just like an exciting way to start the year. And the best part is that all the proceeds from CrazyCon go towards PTP. And lastly, you can participate in PTP Week. This is just a really great opportunity to help spread more information and education of pediatric trauma through social media and also overall bring awareness towards the issue. So there are 3 main ways that you make an impact on your community when you fundraise for PTP. So the first impact is through providing safety equipment such as helmets, car seats, and just any other sort of protective gear for kids. These are actually available for purchase by your Kiwanis family at a subsidized cost. That way, it's more accessible to the children and their families. The second impact of PTP fundraising is through medical training, meaning that pediatric doctors and medical staff, like nurses and first responders, are given more advanced pediatric training at the 6 partnering hospitals that I mentioned earlier. This ensures that the pediatric patients are given the proper care they need since the anatomy of a child is a lot different from adults. So it's important to have that specific training for the patients. And lastly, fundraising for PTP allows our 6 partnering hospitals to apply for grants. These grants allow Kiwanis and our partnering hospitals to fund their own pediatric trauma projects and outreach efforts to their community on a much larger scale. These grants also allow them to purchase specialized medical equipment related to pediatric trauma or provide like any other form of support they can give. So we have two main resources that you can refer to for the Pediatric Trauma Program. The first one is us, the Five Fund Committee. Not only are we a resource for PTP, but all of the three DFIs that we talked about in this webinar. And we'll actually be releasing like a lot of information and like resources regarding PTP, like brochures and infographics during PTP week. So if you're interested, just make sure you look out for that in the future. And also, the second resource you can use is the CNH Kiwanis Family Foundation. Since they are the founders of the Pediatric Trauma Program, they can provide like a ton of helpful resources on their website for more information, fundraising tips, and just like education on the program and cause itself. So that's the end of Pediatric Trauma Program.
And with that, we hope you have been paying attention during this webinar, since we'll have a game time now with a Kahoot about the DFIs and just based on the information presented to you in this webinar so far. We'll be waiting just a couple more minutes for everyone to join, but y'all should participate because the winner can get a prize at Crazy Comp. So everyone should play, yay. And just as a reminder, we'll be having a Q&A session after this. So if you have any questions, just let us know in the chat and we'll be posting our sign-in link at the very end. So be sure to stick through until the end. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna get started right now. And with our first question, what does Crazy Competition for Infants raise funds for? And that's right, the answer is PTP.
So the second question will be, FA has over how many food pantries? And yeah, the answer is 60,000.
So the next question is, what % of unintentional injuries can be prevented? The answer is 90%.
And our next question is, when was the KFH established?
So the Kiwanis Family House was established in 1984. Right now, Sacramento is its only location, but there are plans to build more Kiwanis Family Houses throughout not just CNH, but throughout Circle K.
So the next question is, where is KFH located? So the answer is Sacramento, California.
The next question is, our PTP partner hospitals are located in all of the following cities except. So the answer is Los Angeles. And we also have 3 other partnering hospitals apart from the 3 listed here.
And our next question is, how many days does the average guest stay at the KFH? And that's right, the answer is 3. The average guest stay is 3 days at the KFH.
And the next question is, what month is Hunger Action Month? And Hunger Action Month is in September.
The next one is, what are our 3 DFIs? So the answer is Kiwanis Family House, Feeding America, and Pediatric Trauma Program.
And our final question is, how many meals can $1 provide through Feeding America? And that's right, the answer is 10 meals. Each dollar can provide about 12 pounds of food, which can be translated into 10 meals. And on to our leaderboard, we have in first place Wayne, second place Ligma, and third place Nick. So congrats everyone. Thanks everyone for participating. Now we'll be moving on to our Q&A session.
First question that we received is, are we allowed to fundraise for other charities outside of our DFIs? And the answer is yes, you can. Our DFIs are just the initiatives that we focus on, but you can always fundraise for any charity of your choice in your local area.
Another question that was submitted is, how can I volunteer at the Kiwanis Family House? So you can volunteer for the K of H by simply just calling them and working out a mutual time where you're both available, and just sign up. The K of H is open from, I believe, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and anyone can volunteer. You don't necessarily need to be a member of Circle K.
Then another question that was asked is, how can I submit money my club raised for the DFIs? So technically, you could submit money to the DFIs at any time independently, but if you want to be qualified for recognition at FTC or DCON, clubs can submit a check to Shira, our district treasurer, at FTC and DCON. Just make sure to include which DFI the funds are going towards in the memo part of the check, and Kiwanis will handle submitting the funds.
So our next question is, what is the most effective way to educate members about the DFIs? There's a lot of ways you can approach it, but I find that the most effective way is through educating members during your actual fundraiser, so they know what they're raising money for, like on site. So if you're at a restaurant fundraiser, or just like at any sort of event, you can talk about the DFI you're raising money for just a little bit. Also, if you're promoting your fundraiser during a general meeting, you can plug in like what the DFI is about. And you can also put it on your fundraising flyers, on your event page, and just a bunch of other ways.
So another question that was asked is, how do we see the impact that we made? So depending on the DFI, there are many different ways to see the impact that you made. So for example, Feeding America releases a donor impact report every quarter. So you'll be able to see exactly where your funds went to during a specific period of time. So for KFH and PTP, you could also hear testimonials from either guests staying at KFH or our partner hospitals supported by PTP.
And another question that was submitted was, what are PTP dolls and how can I make them? So PTP dolls are a way for children to visualize and point out their injuries physically on the doll, as well as provide them with just comfort. They can be made using old t-shirts, make sure that they're washed though, and just stuffing, needle, and thread. So if you go onto the CNH Kiwanis Foundation website, there will be templates for you to use with instructions how to make them exactly. Just be sure to double check before you make them with your local hospital to see if they're able to accept them depending on their regulations.
So another question that was asked is, what can I expect from Crazy Comp? So from Crazy Comp, you can expect to have a variety of games to compete with other teams, and you'll be able to beat tons of members, both returning and new members, all while supporting a meaningful and amazing cause, which is PTP. And then for more information, you could go to our website. It's crazycomp.cnhcirclek.org, and I'll link that in the YouTube comments below.
The next question is, when is PTP Week? PTP Week will be taking place on October 15th to 19th, and it's all online and through social media. But if you have any more questions, you can ask Kevin, our DFI ambassador, for more information. Another question is, how long should I plan in advance in creating a fundraiser? And it really depends on how small or large your event is. So we actually have, if you're planning on doing like a large scale event, we're actually going to release a event planning guide soon. And it's pretty much like a timeline on when you should do things, but it also depends. For larger scale ones, I would say start as soon as your term begins. For smaller scale, I would say it takes about maybe like a month or two. It just really depends. But if you have a specific one in mind, you can ask that in the chat too, and I can answer that for you. Okay, so the next question is, what is a good way to keep track of things to be done for large-scale fundraisers? My go-to is always like an Excel sheet with like different tabs and stuff. You can also contact our resource chairs, Naomi and An. They have a ton of resources for all types of event planning, from budgeting to keeping track of your expenses and reimbursements, to like registration, all that kind of stuff. But I would say like an Excel sheet.
So another question that we received is, for fundraisers, how would you try to attract people other than just posting about it? So fundraising is basically marketing 101, and it's how well you promote and advertise the event. So I highly recommend utilizing social media and individual outreach in order to get the word out and attract people to attend your fundraiser. Individual outreach and just messaging people, telling them about the event, inviting them to come, is a really good way to get the word out, because a lot of people may not check group pages on Facebook or event pages, and sometimes people get a lot of notifications. But if it's an individual message, you're more likely to get a response, and you're more likely to be able to like establish a connection with that person to convince them to come out. So in regards to attending fundraisers that are outside of your division, someone asked, if I go to another division's fundraiser, do I need to do any special things? Like I think for service events, I'm not allowed to go to capital divisions. Can I go to their fundraisers? So in regards to this question, just for any events in general, you are only allowed to attend events within your division. And if you want to attend an event that is not within your home division, then you will need to request approval from our district administrator, Mondo, as well as our district governor, Manuel, and that you will need to include like your travel plans, just to make sure that we're accounting for everyone and there are no like liability issues, and we know who is accountable and things like that. So just make sure to request the necessary approvals that you need for yourself if you want to attend events that are outside of your division. And just to continue on that thread, you are allowed to attend events from your hometown. So for example, I'm from San Diego, but I go to school in Berkeley, but I am allowed to attend Paradise events when I am in town, like for example, for the summer and things like that. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's not really related to fundraising, but so one other question is, what is the benefit of paying dues outside of discounts on club apparel or club merchandise and events and going to district events? You are able to, when you are a dues paid member for Circle K, you are able to apply for scholarships through the Kiwanis Foundation. And it's basically, scholarships are free money, and I think they're a great way to just like fund your education, especially because we're all broke college students, and I think anything helps and anything can go a long way when it comes to that. Additionally, you are able to run for office on the club and district level. So you do need to be a dues paid member in order to do that. If you're interested in pursuing leadership opportunities, you also need to be a dues paid member to be part of district committees and divisional leadership teams. So that's also something to keep in mind and something to also be cognizant of. And those are just like other incentives to pay dues. There are, for specific clubs, there are particular incentives sometimes. I know that some clubs offer like free attendance to Crazy Comp or DLSSP or District Large Scale Service Project if you pay dues by a certain time. And so that's just something to keep in mind and something to talk to your own club board about. Another question is, as freshmen who are just trying to get involved, they aren't too interested in big events. So what is something I can do or say? Is that in regards to getting them to pay dues, or coming out to, or encouraging them to come out to district events such as Crazy Competition for Infants and Fall Training Conference? Well, I'll address both. So in regards to them paying dues, I think also another way to incentivize people to pay dues is having, for example, a family system or a mentor-mentee / big little system. And so I know some clubs have requirements where you have to pay dues in order to be part of those fellowship systems. And I think it's also a good way to encourage them to pay dues and to also get involved with the club, or to stay involved with the club if they have a community that they're able to find there. And In regards to coming out to Crazy Competition and Fall Training Conference, if a member isn't too interested in big events, just really push for or mention how the fellowship opportunities that are available, just being able to like get outside of your school's town or outside of your school campus and being able to meet members from all around the district. I think just like those things are ways that you can, like incentivize them to like just consider coming out to big district events. So I hope that answered your question. So we are hitting close to 10 p.m. If you have any further questions, please feel free to message anyone from the Finance and Fundraising Committee, and we'll be happy to get back to you. And we apologize if you asked a question in the chat and we weren't able to get to it. Like I said, just feel free to message us at any time. So yeah.
So thank you everyone again for attending, and I hope you all learned a little more about our DFIs and got some of your questions answered and are all excited to help fundraise for them, as they're all really great causes. So just make sure to sign in at tinyurl.com/DFI webinar 18 to get your MRP credit. And again, thank you for attending. If you have any other questions about the DFIs, please feel free to ask me or Shira, and our emails and contact information is right there. And I'll link the sign-in into the chat as well.
Thank you everyone for coming again. It's your webinar host, Francis, and thank you for all coming to this webinar. And we have a webinar next week also, which is going to be member engagement by MD&E and CNM, which is going to be a co-hosted webinar.